Hey guys, welcome. Do you know where you are? Kobe, tell them where they are.
You're at 109 right now.
Yeah, boom, for real. All right, y'all. China, 2015, I was there. Beijing. Beijing is a huge city. You don't want to get lost there. I got lost there. I went to the Forbidden City. I exited from a different location than where I entered. I mean, it's huge. I entered from the front and I exited out the rear of this huge palace. I figured, hey, I could just take a bus and go in the same direction that I came in and find my accommodation, find my hotel. And I did that. I jumped on the bus and I quickly discovered no one on that bus spoke English. I said, no problem. I'm good. I know which direction this bus is headed in, so I'm good. I think the bus turned and I was still on the bus and the bus hadn't stopped. And I said, oh, darn. I got off the bus and I didn't have a clue where I was. I knew I needed to take the subway because I had a subway map on me. So I tried to find the subway. I walked until I found the subway. Got on the subway, made my way back to a subway station that I was familiar with. In that moment, when I found, when I arrived at that subway station that was familiar to me, I walked up the stairs out of this subway from underground to exit. In that moment, I looked around and I noticed, hey, all of this is familiar to me. Boom. I saw a guy, a Chinese dude, wearing a hat with the letters LAW on it. In the same moment I found myself, I found that guy wearing that hat. This was a coincidence because those letters, LAW, those are my initials. And so as I was finding myself in China, I found myself in that hat. That was a huge coincidence. So I asked the guy if I could take a picture of him, and he was like, yeah. And I was like, your hat, man. I love it. So I gave him the international symbol, international hand sign gesture to say, good on you, good job, things are good. Gave him the thumbs up. He understood. He let me take his photo, and I was happy I found my way back to familiar area. So that's a coincidence. That's something that happened to me in China, and that's where I'm going to begin this story. Because what I'm going to talk about next isn't so much a coincidence as a reoccurrence, um, an encounter, a serendipitous moment of synchronicity that has weaved its way into all of my travels around the globe. And I'm going to tell you about all of those instances right here. These are not coincidences, okay? This is something bigger, something much grander. All right, stay tuned. Peace. All right, guys. So I kind of lied. I said I wasn't going to talk about coincidences, but I'm going to talk about serendipitous encounters. Yes, but I also have to share with you one thing before we begin that story. So I kind of actually didn't lie, but we're not going to get into it just yet. So okay, let me just state that. Um, my license plate in 2004, 2005 ish, around that time, my license plate read 109 LAW2. All right, LAW. I just told you the story about China, so you know what that means, right? Those are my initials. And plus, I'm the second, I'm a junior, so I put the two at the end, okay? And that's what my license plate red, 109 LAW2. Now, the first three numbers, 109, that's a reference to my birthday. I was born on October 9th. So, my license plate read my birthday and my name, or at least alluded to my birthday and my name, my full name. I chose that as my license plate. You can have personalized license plates in the state of California, actually in America, and that's what I did. I chose to have a personalized license plate. Now, that's not a coincidence. That wasn't a serendipitous encounter, but those numbers, 10 and 9, were there. And I'm calling your attention to this because I just want to tell you that this is kind of the very first time when 109 really entered my consciousness. You know, I put it on my license plate. That's when I stepped out and said, yeah, there I am. Here it is. Okay? All right. Enough of that. The stories that I'm now going to tell you, these are the serendipitous encounters, those moments where I didn't have any will. This was not of my will, not of my doing, not of my, this wasn't conscious. It may have been subconscious, but this wasn't me saying, hey, I want 109, give me 10, or give me that number 9, put those together. No, none of this. All right, let me just tell the story. Here we go. All right, guys, so the next section, the next part of this video, I'm going to tell you about South Korea and all of these encounters with 10 and 9, okay? First off, I'll tell you, I moved to South Korea in 2007, and boom, for real, the first friend I made in South Korea, his birthday is also on October 9th. Boom, for real, 10-9, there it is, okay? And we were, when our birthday rolled around the calendar, and you know, when our birthday was right around the corner, we were excited to celebrate our birthdays. We were like, hey man, we're gonna have a good time. Let's go celebrate our birthdays. Well, our mutual Korean friends told us, hey, slow down. You might be celebrating your birthday, but we're celebrating our language on the same day. And we're like, what? Like, yes. October 9th, 10-9 is a holiday on which the Koreans celebrate the promulgation of the Korean language. It's called Hangul Day or Hangulal. Okay? So we were like put on the back burners, and we were just really, you know, like, hey, we were shown that we were not that important on that particular day. But here's the thing. In 2007, Hangul Day wasn't a national holiday that was celebrated in the country. It had been in the past, but in 2007, it was not. So things changed. In 2012, it was reinstated as a national holiday, and everyone got the day off. So my buddy and I, we were happy because we worked in South Korea, and now our birthday was a national holiday again, and we didn't have to work on that day. So that was a sweet deal. So we kind of felt like, hey, we should really stay in this country because that's a really good plus. I mean, to have your birthday, you know, off from work, that's sweet. And I mean, it wasn't like they made a phone call and said, hey, Larry and his buddy have birthdays on this day. I think we should bring that holiday back and celebrate it. No, we're not that important. But it kind of felt like that. It's like, man, what a coincidence that, you know, this day is coming back. But no, it wasn't. It wasn't us. But these are the coincidences, or rather, these are the moments, these are the things that really impressed me and really made an impression upon me. So my friend, the first friend I made, his birthday was on October 9th, or 10-9. And then Hangul Day is a national holiday and it was also on our birthday. And then, of course, it was cool because we got the day off. Now, I'm not going to get into, what it was like living in South Korea, the pros, the cons, and I'm not going to give you all of that description. I'm just going to say that when I worked in South Korea, sometimes it was difficult. And one of the reasons why it was difficult working in South Korea is because of the schedule, the work schedule. And if you didn't get a good work schedule, then your time, could be diminished, meaning your enjoyment could be diminished. Let me give you an example. Um, One of the teachers, one of my former colleagues, had a nice schedule. He would work from 9 in the morning until 12 noon and have the rest of the day to himself. And he would have that schedule Monday through Thursday, and he'd have Fridays off. Or if he worked Monday through Friday, well, on Fridays he'd leave work at 12 noon and have the rest of the day, the rest of the weekend, to enjoy himself. But that block from 9 until 12 was his. He owned that. And every semester, that's what the university gave him. It's like, you got it, man. That's your schedule. And for the rest of us, the other teachers, we didn't get that schedule because it was already allotted to him and to other teachers. I guess senior teachers like them. Not always senior, however, though. So here's the thing. For me, I didn't get those schedules, and my schedules would often look like a triangle. Okay, if you can imagine. At the top of on Monday, I would start early in the day, and then as the week progressed, then my start times would go down. They'd drop from 9 in the morning on Monday to 10 in the morning on Tuesday to 11 or noon by Wednesday, by 1 or 2 o'clock on Thursday, and then I'd be starting at like 3 p.m. on a Friday. Now that sucks, okay? That really sucks. Because by the end of the week, you're tired, you want to go home, you want to enjoy your weekend, and if you're stuck teaching a class at 3 p.m. until the evening, well, you might be stuck there working until 6 or 7 p.m., finishing up and then preparing for your next week's class on a Friday night. So I didn't want to really get into that discussion, but that's something that, really didn't sit well with me. But here's the thing. Our schedules would change. We would have those set schedules for 3 months at a time. So I would suffer for 3 months at a time with these funky schedules, okay? Sometimes I loved them, sometimes I didn't. Oftentimes I did not. But here's something that happened to me. Given the schedule, I found that I would go to sleep and then I would wake up in preparation for my day or preparation for my class. I might wake up a few hours before my class, depending on what time it is. Let's say I have a 1 p.m. class and I sleep in late, and I might wake up at like 10. What I started encountering in Korea is I noticed that I would wake up at like 10:09. All right? I would wake up at like 10:09. And this happened to me often enough for me to notice it and for me to wonder like, hey, man, this is interesting. I keep waking up at this hour, at 10:09. But it wasn't such a strange thing to me. It was a cool thing because I looked at those numbers, 10:09, as the date, October 9th. And I thought, hey, that's my birthday. So I made light of whatever was happening to me. So I just saw 10:09 as October 9th. So I just said, hey, that's cool. That's cool. But here's the thing. It had happened to me so many times. It also happened at 1:09 p.m. Irrespective of whatever I was doing, I might check my watch at 1:09 p.m. or 10:09 a.m. or p.m. or what have you. And it made an impression on me. It said, "Hey, there's your birthday." And at those times, it was just like, that's cool. But as it continued to happen, I certainly paid attention to it, made mental notes. I even shared pictures on Facebook with friends, like, "Hey, this is my time. Check it out." Okay. All right. Just a little tidbit, a mundane detail. So what? Who cares? It happens to all of us. 11:11, 1:11, 2:22, 3:33, 4:44, 5:55. You know, we see these numbers, we see these things. We make something of it. We say make a wish. We say, "Hey, this is cool." Then we say, "Oh, these are signs." Okay, okay, okay. But up until this point, there was nothing beyond, "Hey, that's my birthday," with these numbers 1, 0, and 9 to make me, really focus on these numbers. And all of that happened in South Korea. Okay? All right. So there you have it. That's South Korea. Now I'm going to start telling you about Japan. And Japan and Korea kind of bleed into each other because these are two countries that are located close to each other. And these are two countries that I traveled to. I lived in Korea, but I traveled to Japan frequently. For instance, in 2013, I traveled to Japan 3 times. In 2015, I traveled to Japan 5 times. And in between those, I probably traveled to Japan once or twice or something like that. All right? So that just gives you some idea. I'm going to take a break and come back. Just think about that, and don't you go anywhere. Peace. Okay, so let me try to get through Japan as quickly as possible because I spent a lot of time describing Korea. But then again, I did spend 9 years living in Korea, so it is what it is. Now, Korea would get on my nerves. I needed a break. I needed to break out of Korea, so I would go to Japan. It's an easy way to get to Japan from Korea. You can take the ferry. You can pay as little as $30 for a round trip ticket. Oh man, that was so sweet. I remember those days. Wow. And yeah, you can get to Japan. It's a 3-hour ferry, but hey, you're traveling, and I love to travel, right? Um, so what I would do is I would take the ferry to Japan. I'd land in a city called Fukuoka. All right, it's in the Kyushu prefecture, very far south, um, on the island of Japan. And I remember I arrived one night. I went to a ramen restaurant, very popular ramen restaurant. I went in to get some ramen, and they had an usher, and the gentleman ushered me to a seat. He said, "Come on in," and he ushered me to seat number 10. Okay? Boom, for real. I didn't ask him to be seated at seat number 10. He just ushered me in. He said, "Come on in," and he sat me down at seat 10. Now, kanji, all right? The language, the characters, the Japanese characters, all right? I even have it here on my sticker. All right? Here's 109, the sticker. These are the kanji characters, and it reads, this is 10 and this is 9, okay? And when I sat down under this, what looks like a cross or a plus sign, and that's number 10. Now, these kanji characters, they're written from right to left, not left to right like we are familiar, reading in English. Let me say that again. In English, we read from left to right. In Japanese, they read from right to left. I also think they read from the bottom to the top. I could be mistaken by that, but they read from right to left. So what they're reading is 9 and then 10. And 9, 10 is the natural progression, right? It's in ascending order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But because I was reading these numbers backwards, I saw the 10 first and then I saw the 9 while I was in Japan when I sat at this stool in this ramen restaurant. And so when I looked up, I saw only 10 and 9. Okay? Excuse me, I got a message from my wife. 10 and 9. And that's what I focused on. But there it was again, 10 and 9 right there in Japan. Another instance, that same ferry, that I booked to travel between Korea and Japan. On my way from Japan to Korea, guess what the ferry number is? 109. Okay, so those are my stories about Japan. Those are the first stories about Japan. I have some more, but I'm not going to get into them right now. I'm going to answer my wife's message, and then I'm going to get back to the story. All right, peace. Hey y'all, 10-9 is still king, and 10-9 isn't just an allusion to my birthday, October 9th. No, there's a bigger picture, and that's what we have to focus on. Romans 10:9, y'all. That's what it is. It says, if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. There it is, y'all. Romans 10:9, chapter 10, verse 9. There's a bigger picture there, y'all. Bigger picture. Doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Zoroastrian. As long as there's love in your heart for Jesus, you're on the right path. All right? So let that resonate with you. And come join me on my channel, IC109, right here on YouTube. We just keep rolling. And if anything good comes to me, that is God's plan. So I wish you all the best, and we leave it in God's hands. Love and light. Peace and blessings. All right, folks. So I messaged my wife. Everything's good. Back to my story. We were talking about Japan. All right, now here are a couple other details. Now, in Japan, there is a store called Shibuya 109. Oh yeah, baby. Shibuya 109. And there's Shibuya 109, but then there's also a company called Tokiyu. Not Tokyo, but Tokiyu Hands. And there's also a conglomerate called Tokiyu Group. All right. So there's the Shibuya 109, and when I saw this, and I did go there, I was pleasantly surprised to see those numbers, 109, because I was just like, oh, that's my birthday, cool, right? I'm in the right place. I was in Korea, and 109 is a holiday over there. Now I'm in Japan, and I see 109, Shibuya 109. I have to go in there, yeah. Shibuya 109 is not for men. It's not for us, okay? It's for young women, preteens, and all this kind of stuff. And I would not have gone there knowing that, except there was a young woman whose popularity, grew on the internet. And her name is Hina. Hina or Hina, excuse me for mispronouncing your name. I met her, okay? But before meeting her, I had seen her video on YouTube because there's a very unique characteristic about this young woman. She, as well as many other Japanese women, they like to dress up in what they call like black fashion. And they also like to tan their skin to be darker and closer to black people. It's a fascinating culture, and that's pretty much why she was so popular because, um, there was an expose on their culture, and she was the sort of headliner. It was like, we're going to ask Hina about this culture. And she worked there at Shibuya 109, so I went there to meet her, just to be like, man, I went there, I met her, that was so cool, right? And to see the shop, because the shop is like, wow, the Japanese love black culture. What is that all about? Let's see that. Let's check that out. That's fascinating in and of itself, right? And it's at Shibuya 109. So all of those little cool little tidbits were making me want to go there, to see that place. And I was lucky enough to have met her, to have taken a picture with her and some of her her employees, right? She was the manager, her colleagues. All right, so there's that. But then I was annoyed when I saw Tokyu hands all over Tokyo. I'm like, it's Tokyo. It's not Tokyo. What is this? But no, they have a company called Tokyu, and they have a store called Tokyu Hands. It's a stationery store where you can buy all sorts of things. I'm not sure if I bought this pen there, but hey, for the sake of a story, yeah, I bought this pen there. All right. All right. Anyway, I actually did buy. I bought these pens in Japan, and I recently purchased them from Amazon. But hey, I love these pens. I found them in Japan, and I will keep buying them. Anyhow, why do I bring up Tokyu Hands? It's because the Japanese partake in something called Japanese wordplay. Tokyu. To say that is to say 10-9. The to refers to the number 10. Excuse me. The number 10, that's to. And then the number 9 is gyu. To-kyu. To-kyu. And so the Japanese do this wordplay where, in particular, the numbers 1, 0, and 9 are very special, very interesting, and very fun and popular numbers in Tokyo because Tokyo sounds so much like Tokyo. So there you have it. Now, that was completely unbeknownst to me when I traveled to Japan all of those many times that I did, 3 times in 2013, 5 times in 2015. All I knew is I needed a break from Korea. Japan is a fun country, interesting country. I love the food, the ramen, the udon, and the sushi. I loved it all. And I was just going there for that reason. It was only recently that I understood, hey, maybe Japan was calling me spiritually based upon these numbers. Okay. All right. Now here's the last little tidbit I'm going to tell you about my travels between Korea and Japan. As I mentioned before, when I took that ferry from Japan back to Korea, it was ferry number 109, right? Here's the other thing that happened to me. When I arrived in Korea, I purchased a ticket for the train in order to get home, and my train ticket was, or my seat assignment for that train ride was in row 10. And so just like I was in Japan and I saw the numbers 10 and 9, or I was seated in seat 10 in Japan, I was seated in row 10 on the train in Korea. And I could look above me, I could look at the seat numbers and see 10 and then 9, okay, because the numbers were going in ascending order from the front of the train into the rear. And I saw 10 and 9 again. And this was 3 days before my birthday. So I'm already kind of thinking about my birthday, and here I am being assigned. I didn't ask to be seated in row 10, but I was chosen. I was given that seat by the attendant. And I have no reason, I have no explanation as to why that happened. It just did. And that was 3 days before my birthday. I took a picture of that. I took a picture of the seat numbers, and then I submitted it to, I uploaded it on Facebook, and I shared it with friends just to say, hey, look, I'm in row 10, And you can clearly see 10/9. My birthday's coming up. Kind of a reminder to everyone else. Okay? So that's what happened to me between Korea and Japan. All right. I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to come right back to you with some more adventures with 10/9 around the globe. Peace.
Te escuchamos.